Okay.
Shooter, are you ready? Stand by.
What's up, YouTube? This is a short video, or hopefully it'll be a short video on a question I got in the comments regarding this old pair that I've had. You haven't seen this pair in probably a year in any of the videos. It's been more or less kind of mothballed as I've moved from it back to kind of Glocks, and then from Glocks to the Tanfolios. But I got a question on this gun, and you know, guys, at least I in particular live in a state that's real gun friendly. I got a lot of gun stores near me. I got a lot of options. I got a lot of choices. All those gun stores are pretty fully stocked. And so it's easy for me to make comparisons in different firearms. And I think as, you know, YouTube, it's kind of partly our responsibility to help people out when they have questions, because we sometimes get questions from people that live in restricted countries where they can maybe afford one pistol at a time, depending on the licensing, the restrictions, the laws. So when you get a question and you have an opportunity to answer the question, I think if you can, it's worth making a short video response and answering questions. So that's what I'm doing today. Essentially, this commenter was told that the grip on these double stack 1911s, or 2011s as they're often called, was significantly bigger and wider than a Glock grip. Now, I think there might be some truth to that, but I'm going to go into a little detail. So first off, we need to stipulate first that this is a paraframe. It is a metal frame. It is not an STI style polymer grip, which is what most people would think of when they think of 2011s. They will think of an STI. They'll think of a polymer grip, which they've now come out with aluminum grip modules and steel grip modules. But this is the older, more original para frame, where it's made of metal, and then Rock Island has been making these frames as well. Now, so I would say this measurement applies directly to the 45 para frame, which I think could translate directly to any Rock Island Armory frame as well. So just that stipulation, and it's probably going to be close to the STI grips. I don't know. I can only answer what I have in my hand, which is a para frame. So the other thing that I need to stipulate is that this is a 34 Glock 34 9mm, which is the small frame, full size, but it is not a large frame, which would be 10mm 45. Anything with a bullet length that is beyond this, those are large frame Glocks, right? The Glock 41 is an exception in there, but typically anything that's not 9mm 45, 357 SIG, those shorter cartridges, they require a large frame. I think it's just the 10mm and the 45 at least require a large frame Glock. So, and additionally, this is a Gen 4 Glock. So the medium backstrap, I think, on the Gen 4s is actually equates to a Gen 3 Glock. So this is pretty much the smallest full-size frame you can get. Okay, in Gen 4, this is the smallest full-size frame you can get for a Glock full-size frame, because it is a Gen 4 grip without a backstrap for a 9mm or any small caliber. So when I take these measurements, keep that in mind, that if you buy a 45, like if you buy a Glock 21 Gen 4, it's going to be bigger, it's going to be longer and wider. So even still, that's the only one I have in front of me, so I'm going to take these measurements for what I have in front of me. So here's how I measured it. I broke out the calipers. I did two measurements. I did width, and then I did this measurement here, which is basically the highest you can get up on the frame, right under the trigger guard, which is where, to me, is the most important, you know, length here is going to be right here. Because as you get further down, it might be wider. I don't know. But I thought when gripping, these two fingers make a more difference than down here. This in particular, everyone tries to undercut and get that as high up as they can, because that's where you're getting a lot of your strength from your strong hand is right in here. I mean, you know, some subcompacts don't even have a spot for your pinky. So a lot of your grip is coming from your thumb and how you're wedging it up underneath there. But as far as grip size, I measured right here for this one finger. I measured right across here. So I did the same measurement on the para. I got the width and right under here. And this is undercut a little bit too, as far as 1911 frames are concerned. And then, so yeah, so I'll show you those two measurements in a second. Got width and just overall, and then, you know, that one right there. And here's how it comes out, guys. The width, I'll fold that right there. So the width for the Glock was 1.5 inches, or 1.2 inches, right? And then for the para, the widest point, you can even see it flares towards the back here. You can see the grips actually get wider towards the back. So that was captured, and that is going to be 1.35. You know, bigger. I don't know if that's a significant amount bigger, but that is bigger. So, you know, truth there. I mean, and remember, this is a small frame Glock. So comparable. I'm not sure you're going to notice 1.1 or 0.1 inches. You might. I don't know. I'm just going to give you the information, let you make the judgment. And then the length here was 2.12 inches, and then the length here was 2.225, right around in there. So again, about 0.1 inches. Now, well, how does that feel in the hand, which is ultimately what's the most important thing, right? How does it feel in the hand? I was thinking of ways to demonstrate this. And what I was thinking of doing is, if you'll just look at how far my fingers wrap around here and to how far they come back on this grip panel on this side, should help you determine how far around. Like if I'm gripping it and I get that far, that's a lot different than if I would get that far, right? The other thing I did was I got as far up in here as I can, and then I'm going to punch out and get a good sight picture, and that's going to pull my fingers back a little bit. Because, you know, just wrapping around here, I might be way back here. You know, I can show you that. But then if I pull to get a sight picture, right, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to get a good grip. I'm going to punch out, squeeze real hard, and then we can show where my fingers end up. And then we'll compare that to the para. So I'm going to do that just briefly off screen. Okay. Good solid grip, shooting grip. I feel it has pulled back from my fingers. And this squeezed as hard as I could. And that's how far my fingers, which will be the control here, because I can't control for your hand, but my fingers wrap around the grip that far. And I guess you can, so here's, I'll pull that away. You can see where the grip is. I would say, you know, something like that, right? Something like that. That's how far those two fingers get around the grip. Good high grip up in here, not too high, right? Good trigger. I can reach trigger. Trigger reaches that far. I get that far beyond the trigger. And this is a small frame, or full-size frame in small caliber, we'll say. Get that far. And now the para, going to do the same thing. Going to do that off screen. 1911 grip is going to be a little different. This is going to be resting here, but it's essentially the same. So I'm going to punch out and show you that. And I'll be right back. Shooting grip. Did a little dry fire. Squeeze as hard as I could. Let it settle out where it was. I get that far from the trigger. And my fingers wrap around the grip that far. So we'll look at it about right there. Okay. It's the best I can do, trying to do this fairly for both guns. I like both guns. And I think it's pretty clear. I don't get quite as far on the double stack 45 frame gun. But you know, you could argue that that gives you a lot of space to put your other offhand. I don't feel like I can't get a grip on this. I can almost reach the mag release, like I can almost reach it on the Glock, right? So that's right there. The trigger is easy. Length of pull is I got all this room. It's not an issue getting to the trigger. I can break my grip and do a reload real quick. Same thing over here. If I get a good grip, you know, I can almost reach the mag release. I can get my thumb on it, but I can't put enough pressure on it, so you'd have to break your grip and push that in. So you can get to it, but you can't really push on it unless you kind of adjust your grip a little bit. So, and then I got all the kind of space I need to get to that trigger. Pull it back, right? Same thing over here. No problem here. This is actually a long trigger, right? If I really needed to, if I had really short hands, I could go with a short trigger like the original 1911 trigger. But this is, I think, a medium-sized trigger. Boom, right there. Still got a break grip to hit the mag release. But that's what I wanted to do for that comment. Make a short little video. Compare the two. I think they're both great pistols. This one's obviously in 45. It's gonna be a little bigger. This one's a 9mm. It's gonna be a little smaller. I think if someone had a Glock 21 Gen 4 or a Glock, what is it, 20, I think, the one in 10mm. If someone had a large frame Gen 4, it might get you a little bit closer comparison. But that's what I got available to me, so that's what I'm gonna make. So, hope you appreciate the video. Please like, subscribe, let me know if you got any more questions. Thanks a lot, guys.